Good afternoon, everyone. You may be seated. It is my privilege as ENC's president to welcome you to our 2019 commencement exercises and to celebrate with you the fact that it is now raining. This is our 100th year in Quincy, but it's my first month as president. So I'm going to ask for your forgiveness in advance if I stand or sit at the wrong time or somehow end up on the wrong level of this platform. If it ever looks up here like we are not in sync, you can be assured that I am the one who's in error. We are delighted to welcome you here today for this joyous and in some cases long anticipated occasion, when we celebrate the academic achievements of our graduates and launch them into the next stage of their journey. I know that many of you have come a long way to be here with us today, and my prayer is that you will immediately feel right at home among us. If you are here today, you are family, and this is a grand family celebration when as parents, grandparents, spouses, professors, siblings, and friends, we gather together to rejoice in the gifts that God has given to our graduates and to acknowledge the ways in which they have been faithful in stewarding those gifts. I'd like to thank a few of the people who have worked so hard to make today's celebration possible. Let's express our thanks again to the members of the Symphonic Winds under the direction of Stephen Bell, who just exited this way. I think I heard some Motown in their playlist, which I have to admit was unexpected, but I think a nice touch. We want to thank the a cappella choir that will be performing for us very shortly under the direction of Stephanie Beatrice. Thank you to the many members of our staff who have been involved in various preparations for this day, especially those on the grounds and facilities crew who have prepared the campus so beautifully. Yes, let's give it up for them. The weather has not been especially cooperative for them recently, but they have been working hard and have done a great job. I'd like to acknowledge our faculty who have provided outstanding instruction and mentoring to our graduates over these past 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. We'll just stop it right there, years. But we are grateful for them and welcome you, faculty. We welcome family members and friends of our graduates and acknowledge all the ways in which you have supported them during their time here at ENC. Most of all today, though, we welcome the Eastern Nazarene College class of 2019 to this their day. There are 193 of you graduating today, including our traditional undergraduate students and graduates of our adult and graduate programs. The class of 2019 includes graduates from 19 states and 7 countries. 50 of you will graduate with honors. You have prepared yourselves to serve the world through studies across numerous academic disciplines, all grounded in a solid biblical and theological foundation. We are proud of you, and we are all here today to celebrate all that God has allowed you to do. So congratulations, class of 2019. Friends, if you have not already done so, I'd like to invite you to be sure to silence any cell phones or pagers or any other technology that might disturb your neighbors during the ceremony. When I was a pastor a long time ago, the rule was that if your cell phone went off during the service, we ordered in pizza for everybody and you paid for it. That would not be a cheap date with this crowd, so thank you for caring for that at this point. But again, it's my pleasure to welcome all of you and to thank you for coming. At this time, I would like to invite Janelle Byler, mother of graduating senior Jacob Byler, to acknowledge God's presence with us today and to place this celebration in his hands. Would you please stand for our opening prayer?
Let's pray. Father, you are so good, and it is good to be standing in this place together in your presence on this beautiful campus and in the wonder of this holy moment. These students have worked hard and are standing here among their family and friends, among faculty, staff, and administration who have loved them well and invested in them faithfully. And we are here to stand with them, believing in them and for the dream you have dreamed in them. Lord, would you help us in these moments to be mindful to be fully present and abiding, and in awe of what you have accomplished in and through these students and what you will continue to accomplish in and through them as they leave this place. We are here to celebrate them and to give thanks and praise to you. Oh God, would all that we are about to do be an act of worship? Would it put a smile on your face? Lord, would this just make your day as we stand in the grace and peace, in the way, the truth, and the life that you have made possible? And would you help us all in these moments to rest and to revel in the certain knowledge that we are yours. We are dearly beloved. Our times are in your hands, and we are never alone. We pray these things in the powerful and matchless name of Jesus the Christ. Amen. You may be seated.
Thank you very much, members of the choir. I feel the need to clarify that I was asked to speak at this commencement. I can imagine some of you thinking, how arrogant does this guy need to be to insist that he speak at the commencement of his first year of his presidency? Let me assure you, I was invited to do this and honored and humbled by the invitation, and look forward to sharing a few words with our class here today. Well, do you ever wonder why people turn out the way they do? Like Steve Jobs, for example, the legendary genius behind Apple. How many of you have an Apple product with you right now? Okay. How many of you are planning to use it instead of listening to me give this talk? But why did Steve Jobs turn out the way that he did? Brilliant, visionary, creative, but a little obsessive and sometimes even a little bit unkind. What about Tom Brady? Have you heard of him around this part of the world? Or Serena Williams or Tiger Woods, all so competitive, so driven, so disciplined. Why did they turn out the way they did? Or how about Donald Trump or Elizabeth Warren? I won't tell you what adjectives I would use for either one of those two. I'll let you fill in those blanks. But however you would describe them, why have they turned out to be the kind of people that they are? Or what about Pope Francis, or Mother Teresa, or the pastor at your home church? People who turn out to be so godly and compassionate and humble. Why do they turn out that way? I'm sure you've noticed that there's a lot of disparity among people. Some people are especially courageous or generous or loving. Others are uniquely arrogant or selfish or foolish. Some people grow and thrive and live high-impact lives. Others seem to be stuck in neutral all the time. Still others crash and burn. Why is that? Why do people turn out the way they do? And maybe more importantly, what kind of person are you turning out to be? What kind of person am I turning out to be, and why are you turning out that way? Now, obviously, people are complex and life is complex, so there isn't one factor that determines the course of someone's life. Our faculty over here from different academic disciplines would probably emphasize different factors. Psychologists might talk about the importance of our families of origin. Biologists might talk about our gene pools. Sociologists might talk about whether we have lived in privilege or oppression. Educators would emphasize the teachers and mentors we've had. Theologians would talk about how important our conception of God is. And they would all be right. Because all of those things and about 1,000 other things combine to make us the people that we become. But this afternoon class of 2019, I'd like to suggest one factor that I think is uniquely important in determining the trajectory of your life. And it is the way in which you think. I believe the nature and quality of what is going on in your gray matter is a major player in determining the person that you will become. Do you know those little bubbles that sometimes appear above a character's head in a comic strip or a cartoon so you can see what they're thinking? Thought bubbles, they're called. So imagine if today we all had thought bubbles floating above our heads. And as we go through this ceremony and the rest of this day, we can read everybody else's thoughts and they can all read ours. So your dad says something embarrassing in front of your friends. or your roommate spills coffee on your graduation gown right before the ceremony, or the person sitting next to you in alphabetical order right now is the person you think is the most stunningly attractive person on this campus, or the person who broke your heart freshman year, or maybe both. And in all of those moments, your thought bubble is floating right out there and tells that other person exactly what you're thinking. Might be a little awkward because we all know there's often quite a disconnect between the public image that we so carefully cultivate and the private soundtrack that's always going on in all of our minds. But it's what's going on inside our thought bubbles that drives so much of the person we are and the person we become. Imagine how the shape of a person's life is impacted if their thought bubble is dominated by, "I'll never amount to much," or "people are jerks," or "I'm the smartest person in the room," or "the whole world is against me." Discouraged people tend to think discouraging thoughts. Worried people tend to think anxious thoughts. Angry people tend to think angry thoughts. Now imagine a person whose thought bubble is filled with "every day is a gift." People matter. God cares for me. People who are uniquely grateful or loving or courageous tend to think thoughts that create and support those perspectives. There's a famous verse in the Bible that says, "As a person thinks in his heart, so is he, so is she." Why do people turn out the way they do? A lot of factors. But friends, I think it's largely because of how they think. My wife Wendy and I currently have a dog and a cat who live in our house. The dog belongs to Wendy and me. The cat belongs to our son in Seattle. It's a complicated story. I won't tell you more. But a friend of mine who has watched this drama unfold between our dog and our cat and our family gave me this little piece a little while back. It's called Excerpts from a Dog's Diary and a Cat's Diary. Maybe you've seen this. Dog diary. 8 a.m., dog food, my favorite thing. 9 a.m., a car ride, my favorite thing. 10 a.m., played in the yard, my favorite thing. 11 a.m., watch TV with my people, my favorite thing. And on it goes through the day. Cat diary. Day 983 of my captivity. My captors continue to taunt me with bizarre little dangling objects. The only thing that keeps me going is my dream of escape. Two creatures, identical circumstances. What's the difference? It's the way in which they think. As a pet thinketh in his heart, so is he, so is she. John Milton in Paradise Lost wrote this: "The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell or a hell of heaven." The Apostle Paul wrote in the New Testament, Romans 12, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed." How? By the renewing of your mind. It's about what you think. Why do you suppose Jesus spent so much of his time teaching? Because if you want to change someone's life, change the way they think. The way you think creates your attitudes, it impacts your emotions, it affects your behavior, it influences your decisions, it shapes your relationships, it determines what you think of yourself, what you think of others, what you think of God. Graduates, the life you live today and the life you will live in the future is undoubtedly and inevitably a reflection of the ways in which you think. How many of you think this makes sense? How many of you didn't hear the question because you're on your Apple product right now? All of this raises an obvious set of questions. What are the patterns of thinking, then, that will enrich your lives? And how do you develop those patterns? How do you develop a mind that allows you to live the large life that God calls you to? Those are questions that go far beyond the scope of one graduation talk, especially since the one and only rule for graduation talks is to keep it brief. Tiffany Adams, sitting right out there somewhere, said to me yesterday, one of our graduates, "You're not going to talk for like an hour, are you?" Tiffany, no, I'm not. We'll be out of here in time for dinner. So let me just suggest 3 words very quickly that I hope will characterize your intellectual life, the way you will develop your mind from this day forward. The first is humility. You are now very well-educated people. And so you sit here today with a set of well-informed beliefs and opinions and perspectives on innumerable topics. Freudian psychology, leadership theory, the age of the earth, gender roles, human sexuality, worship styles, global warming, other religions, building the wall, the Stones or the Beatles. That's more for your parents. You know, you name it. And on all those topics and many more, we all have a tendency to hold on to our beliefs and opinions with a death grip, to think that we have the opinions we do because they are beyond dispute the correct opinions, right? It's why we have those opinions. But if that's your MO, what you are guaranteeing for yourself is a life that quickly becomes stagnant, narrow, and maybe even a little self-righteous. The path of intellectual humility, on the other hand, simply acknowledges that when it comes to what I currently understand about the mysteries of God and the complexities of this world, my perspective is limited. My experience is limited, my information is limited, my vantage point is inevitably subjective, and so maybe, just maybe, on any number of topics, probably more frequently than any of us would care to admit, I could be wrong. Why don't we just practice a bit with those 4 little words, okay? Those are hard words to say, but we can do this in unison, right? I could be wrong. Why don't you turn to the person next to you and real quickly say, I could be wrong? Now, please don't answer them by saying, I'm glad you realize this, and let me tell you all the reasons why. But class of 2019, foundational to a flourishing, expanding Christian mind is the realization that even though you now have a degree from this very fine Christian college, you are just beginning to learn. Intellectual humility. The second word is curiosity. A sort of wonder about this grand, glorious world that God has made and a desire to explore it. An article in a recent Harvard Business Review talked about how 21st century employers, do you want to know what they're looking for? They are looking for what's called T-shaped people. People with deep expertise in their field of knowledge. That's the vertical stroke on the T, but the horizontal stroke of the T means people who have wide-ranging knowledge. People who are on the lookout for new information, people who are well-read, people who ask questions and explore and collaborate, people who are curious. So if you always read biographies, pick up a novel. If your taste is contemporary worship, visit a liturgical church. If you've lived your whole life in New England, spend some time in the South. If you get all your news from CNN, spend some time listening to Fox News or vice versa. If you're a Red Sox fan, well, no, let's not push this too far. But class, be insatiably curious. Ask your grandmother what she remembers about President Kennedy. Spend time with people who are different from you. Travel abroad, learn a new language, listen to a new podcast, not right now. Read the plaques in museums. Take some more of our classes, just for fun. I could arrange a discount probably if you see me afterwards. You would not be sitting here today if you hadn't already learned a lot. But class of 2019, it does not compare to what's still out there to be learned. So be curious. Humility, curiosity, and finally integrity. Remember that the 3-pound, 100 billion neuron organ that sits between your ears is a gift from the God who made you. And your highest calling is to develop it and use it for purposes that honor Him and advance His work in your life and His work in the world. And so in the words of Scripture, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, you think about those things. In just a few moments, you are going to receive something that only about 7% of the world's population has a college degree. You are one of the fortunate few. You are supremely blessed. We congratulate you on this achievement. We congratulate you on this achievement, but we also invite you to make the development of your mind a lifelong pursuit. Because why do Steve Jobs and Tiger and Tom and Donald and Elizabeth and you and me, why do we turn out the way we do? It has a whole lot to do with how we think. And so I pray, and I'm sure the prayers of everyone here today, are that you will love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all of your soul, and with all of your strength, and with all of your mind, all 100 billion neurons of it. May God bless you as you do.
We want to acknowledge the love and support that you as parents and family members have offered to these graduates throughout their lives and during their college years. College graduation is truly a family achievement. So each graduate receives his or her degree. We invite the family members of that graduate to stand where you are so that we can all acknowledge your important role in their achievements. And as an added bonus, that's a good time for pictures and gives you a better angle. So members of the class of 2019, are you ready to receive your degrees? Please stand. President Connell, standing before you are the members of the Eastern Nazarene College class of 2019. These outstanding men and women came to us from all points of the compass and many diverse traditions and backgrounds, and became a community of learners who engaged together in the diligent pursuit of truth and the passionate pursuit of the one who is the truth. They now embody and carry forward our mission. They are equipped to lead and to serve in our diverse world. Today we celebrate their achievements and look forward to all the ways in which God will use them to faithfully serve others and to shape their cultural contexts according to God's truth, righteousness, justice, holiness, and love. The academic accomplishments of these students have been reviewed by the faculty of the college, and the faculty have certified them for graduation. They have completed their course requirements and are eligible to receive their respective degrees. So by formal action of the faculty of Eastern Nazarene College, and on their behalf, I am honored, President Connell, to present to you the Eastern Nazarene College graduating class of 2019.
Thank you, Dean Malice, and it is my privilege on behalf of the faculty and trustees of Eastern Nazarene College to receive this presentation of the class of 2019 and to formally recognize the accomplishments that have brought them to this moment. Class of 2019, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and by the Board of Trustees and the faculty of Eastern Nazarene College, I am pleased to confer upon you your respective degrees with all the rights, honors, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. You may now move your tassels to the left side of your cap to signal that you have passed from being students of Eastern Nazarene College to graduates. Presentation of diplomas begin.
President Connell, I present to you now the graduates of the class of 2019 for their respective degrees. Master of Science Management,
As president of the Alumni Council, it's my privilege to officially welcome you and induct you as members of the ENC Alumni Association. The degrees you have worked so hard to earn have now been conferred upon you, and in just a few moments when you stand, you will be leaving not as students of Eastern Nazarene College, but as ENC alumni. You are joining over 24,000 who have gone before you, and we invite you to take your place among us and to accept the privileges and responsibilities of being ENC graduates and faithful alumni. You are surrounded by some of them even now, but there is a greater cloud of witnesses surrounding you today. Alumni from over 100 years of ENC's history, and it is absolutely and without a doubt because of their obedience, sacrifice, and faithfulness that you are able to be here today. And so it is time for you to embrace the heritage that comes with being a graduate of ENC and decide how you want to make your mark and where you want to take your place in the legacy you leave for those who will come behind you. As you leave this place, know that you take ENC with you. Guard her and protect her. Be faithful to her in what she has given you. Would you be willing to be true? Would you be willing to be true to God, to yourselves, to each other, to your calling, to your vocation, to the kingdom, and to ENC? Would you be willing to be faithful to walk out what has been invested in you here? Would you be willing to let your love be contagious? Would you be willing to sing a new song? Class of 2019, if you are willing, would you respond by saying together, "We will"?
Well, this has been a wonderful occasion, and I want to thank all of you again for celebrating with us today. Before we leave, I want to give our graduates the opportunity to express their thanks to two groups of people that I imagine they will want to. First of all, their families, the parents, spouses, children, siblings, and other family members who have stood behind these graduates, encouraged them, sacrificed time and financial resources for them, and prayed fervently for them. So family members, would you please stand? And graduates, I invite you to look for your particular fan club and express to them your appreciation. Family members, stand. Thanks today, and that is the faculty of the college, those to whom we entrust the sacred duty of instructing our students. So faculty, would you please stand where you are and be recognized by the class of 2019. Finally, a closing word to our graduates, because I couldn't fit everything in my earlier talk. Today you have become graduates of Eastern Nazarene College, one of the nation's finest Christian liberal arts colleges. Today you join the community of thousands of other alumni who have also been deeply marked by this remarkable place. We invite you now to use your gifts and your education in service to your family, your church, your local community, and your world. Some of you will end up in positions of power and influence. Others of you will serve in quiet ways that only God will see. No matter. Live a life that is large with generosity and humility and gratitude. Give yourselves to loving God, loving people, and fixing up this world. Be an agent of grace and reconciliation and healing. And know that Eastern Nazarene College is a place to which you can always return. This is your alma mater now, your fostering mother, and you are always welcome here. Most of all, go out into the world confident of the care of our loving Heavenly Father who will go before you and who plans to do you good all the days of your life. It is into His hands that we place you now, with the confidence that He will bring to completion the good work that He has begun in each one of you, first through your families and then through these years at Eastern Nazarene College. Finally, as I promised in a chapel service this semester to some of you, that I would say to you on this 4th day in May the 4th be with you.
Congratulations, class of 2019. I'm going to do the benediction in different languages, and I'm still trying to find out which language is spoken in heaven. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make His face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn His face toward you and give you peace. O Senhor te abençoe e te guarde. O Senhor faça resplandecer o seu rosto sobre ti e tenha misericórdia de ti. O Senhor sobre ti levante o seu rosto e te dê a paz. Que l'Éternel te bénisse et te protège. Que l'Éternel te regarde avec bonté et qu'il te fasse grâce. Que l'Éternel veille sur toi et te accorde la paix. El Señor te bendiga et te guarde. El Señor te mire con agrado et te extienda su amor. El Señor te muestre su favor y te conceda la paz. Amén.
Party and faculty will now recess, but the students will remain where they are so that you can easily find them.